PDPA memang dulu design letak OT ke earning?
There's mic 1, 2, 3. Can you guys react if there's you guys can hear my voice for the session? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll be starting our session very soon. So yeah, okay. Before we begin our session today, we will let me briefly introduce Irshad HR Consulting. Okay, Irshad HR Consulting is one of the member for Profess Consulting Group, which an integrated group of specialized consulting firm covering such strategies, human resource, ICT, technical consulting, executive search, and staffing. So as you can see over here, as you can see, showing on the screen right now, we are consisting like 6 sister company. So Irshad specialized in HR, while Sage Consulting, we are more for strategy and management consulting. We also have a consultant for ICT and for technical consulting under global performance. We also have services for executive search, which is for AP Lensa. And then last but not least, we also offer staffing and outsourcing service under Global Talent Link. So if you guys want to explore more about our services, you guys can go to our website www.profess.com.my to know more about us. So you guys can stay connected to us by following us from all platform of social media, Irshad HR Consulting in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and also TikTok. So without further ado, so I would like to welcome all of the participants for a National Training Week for our session today, Road to Compliance, PDPA Amendments. Um, so thank you everyone for joining us this morning. So I hope today's session will provide you and useful insights related to the latest PDPA amendments and help you to understand more about this topic. So for you guys information, we also have our very special guest today, which is Prof. Dr. Muhammad Nazri Kamal, which is one of the former Personal Data Protection Commissioner. He will be joining us shortly today, and he will give some closing remarks for the today's session. And then we also pleased to have our consultant today, Mr. Urwash Sha'ari, who will be sharing his knowledge about these topics. uh, and share his insight for today's session lah. And just a quick reminder, make sure your mic is on mute for throughout the session, and please to rename your uh, Zoom account to assist attendance verification. So, without, if you guys have any question, feel free to drop at the chat box, and we will address it when the Q&A session happen. So, without further ado, I would like to invite our consultant, Mr. Urwaf Sari, to deliver his session today.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Can you guys hear my voice and see my video? Thank you very much, Ms. Anis, for your kind introduction. And welcome everybody to the first ever, training session offered by Irshad in today's National Training Week 2026. So I really appreciate your interest and your attendance participating in today's quite a comprehensive and short session. Okay, hopefully you guys have moved from football World Cup fever, and I'd like to congratulate fans from all over the world for supporting the teams participating in the World Cup. Okay, today's topic is a quite comprehensive to compliance to Personal Data Protection Act (PDPA) amendments. So I believe most of you have a very deep interest in PDPA, and you wanted to know what are the amendments, and some of you may have known the amendments, what are there, and perhaps we are looking to understand and seek ways to comply to those amendments. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay. Okay, the PDPA amendments happened in 2024, which was passed by the Parliament back in, I think, September 2024. And there are lots of amendments happened and approved by the Parliament, which is the first ever amendment for the Act since its establishment back in 2010. So I would like to categorize those amendments into four pillars. Number one is pillar number one, from modernizing the foundation of the law, and pillar two to elevating accountability, pillar three managing incident and risk, and pillar four empowering data flows and rights. So, in modernizing the foundation of PDPA, the terminology has been shifted from data user to data controller. So, prior to this, PDPA uses data user. So, in order to standardize the terminology together with other legislation around the world, the terminology shifted to data controller. And then there are expansion of personal data, sensitive personal data terminology, which includes biometrics. Biometrics mean anything related to your, like for example, simply put your fingerprints, your facial, your iris, things like that. Okay. So pillar number two is to elevating the accountability. Number one is the mandatory data protection appointments, or DPO. DPO has been in many legislation for many years. In fact, latest legislation such as at Indonesia and Brunei also has obliged the data controller to appoint DPO. Okay, So there are certain requirements for DPO appointments, which is I'm going to explain later. All right, and then there is new obligation for data processor. So our vendors or third party now are obliged under the PDPA, which is under the security principle. Okay, the third pillar is managing incident and risk. So there is a mandatory data breach notification, which is any data breach that complies or fulfills the requirements need to be notified to Personal Data Protection Commissioner. And there is increasing amount of financial penalties. Prior to this, 300,000 for any breach of seven principles. So from 300,000 ringgit to up to 1 million ringgit. That's quite a high number amount of financial penalty. And fourth pillar is empowering data flows and rights. So the introduction of right to data portability, which allows data subject or we as the data subject to request to transfer our data from one data controller to another data controller. And there is change in cross-border data transfer regulation, moving from a whitelist regime to adequacy requirement. So these are all four pillars that summarizes the key PDPA amendments in 2024. Okay, I would like to highlight that there are several key new obligation under PDPA. Number one is, of course, the appointment of data protection officer. I believe there are plenty of queries or question about this DPO appointment. So then a data controller or data processor who satisfied one of the requirements set by the commissioner must appoint at least one person as a DPO or assign any existing staff with the role. So remember, the DPO is a role. It's not a position that requires a specific person to be appointed. It's a role that can be assigned to an existing staff. Okay. And then the obligation to report data breach. This is key obligation. As you know that from the amendments, there is requirement to notify any data breach that fulfill the requirement to commissioner as soon as practicable within 72 hours. Okay, and there is a requirement to notify the data subjects if the personal data breach is likely to cause any significant harm. So there's it's a lengthy discussion on what is a definition of significant harm. But in this high level definition, significant, anything that may impact or likely to impact the interest of data subject. Okay. And then the direct obligation to data processor. As I said, our vendors or third-party partners in personal data processing are now obliged to comply security principle. Prior to this, there's no direct obligation. So anything happen, data breach happen to at data processors, and the data controller will take full responsibility. So this is new change that a new key obligation under the PDPA. All right. Okay. It's quite interesting that the regulator has produced 6 new guidelines beginning last year until this year, up to April. There are 6 guidelines that you can easily download from a regulator's website. Number one is the appointment of personal data protection officer guideline, and number two is a guideline on data breach notification or DBN. Number three is a guideline regarding cross-border personal data transfer. And then these 3 new guidelines introduced quite recently back in April. Number one is on the data protection impact assessment or DPIA. Number two is on privacy, data protection by design, DPBD, and finally related to AI, automated decision making and profiling guidelines. So these are quite comprehensive guidelines provided by the regulator. So I hope that you can have you can spend a bit time to go through each of the guideline. Okay, so. So this is where very important because when I meet many organization, they complain or they have some difficulty. What is direction? What is the road to comply to PDPA? Because certain organization they are different size, different context, different type of business. Okay, and then there are so many requirements or things that need to be understand. Like similar that you have plenty of dishes on your table. Which one you would like to take first, take last? Okay. So I would like to help organization to understand that in very simple way by putting up three components in terms of complying the PDPA. Okay, number one is related to statutory obligation. This one related to basic requirement as data controller. So your organization as data controller, number one must appoint DPO if your organization fulfill the requirements. Number two, if you also fulfill the requirement to register to commissioner, you need to perform the registration, complete the registration, and of course every organization that process personal data is mandatory to have personal data protection notice, or certain organization they put privacy notice. So this is statutory obligation. The first pathway, okay, and then number two, related to governance and risk. Okay, in order to understand your risk in operation, you need to have risk assessment. So the regulator has introduced DPIA, the plenty of information to support your risk assessment. And then you need to have a policies on data processing, retention, and disclosure. This is very important because most organization they process, keep, and retain personal data, but they don't have policy on disclosure. They keep it for a longer time than necessary, or they keep them forever. So and lastly, on data breach procedure. Okay, so these are components that contribute to governance and risk. Okay, as the number two, and number three, the third pathway is the operational adherence. So once you on your operation, you need to respond to data subject rights. Okay, there are numbers of data subjects right that permitted or provided in PDPA. So as data controller, you need to respond to that right. Okay. And then you need to comply to personal data protection standard. So you have to monitor your infrastructure, okay, your practices in your organization in order to comply to the standard. And then, of course, throughout your operation, you need to communicate with your stakeholders. Your stakeholders can be your data subjects, your top management, your internal staff, and also the regulator. So these are the components or pathway in order to assist your organization to comply to PDPA. So bear in mind that each compliance component is interrelated, and the connectivity of organization data protection within your ecosystem. All right. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper on statutory obligation. Okay. Okay. Number one, you need to register as a data controller, appoint data protection officer, and you need to have a data protection notice. Okay. Registration as data controller is very important. If your organization fall into 13 class of data controller. Okay. I believe those information are available. I cannot go through deeply now. But if you falls into that 13 class of data controller, depending on your types of business, yeah, uh, whether you are a sole proprietor, partnership, private company, or public company, you need to register to the commissioner. And the fees are displayed here, okay, 100 up to 400 annually, okay? And failure to do so is a commitment of an offense, and liable to a fine not exceeding 500,000 ringgit or imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or both. Okay, so this is very important. This is the first compliance step. Okay, and please ensure that if you falls into that 13 class of data controller, and you need to register to the commissioner. Okay. Um, Simply put, like a hotel, if you go to hotel, they should register. There are mandatory sector that need to register to the commissioner. You should be able to see their certificate, personal data protection certificate. Normally, will be displayed at the desk or the front desk of the hotel. All right. Okay. So the appointment of DPO. So who is required to appoint a data protection officer? Okay. Criteria number one, if you are processing personal data exceeding 20,000 data subjects, this includes any data that currently inactive, but you still to retain it for many purposes. So, including your staff, okay, your staff, your customer, active or inactive, or any data that related in processing your business. Okay. Number two, sensitive personal data, which includes financial information uh, exceeding 10,000 data subjects. Okay. The criteria number three, if your person data processing involve activities that require regular and systematic monitoring of personal data. If let's say you use a system to monitor the behavior of your clients, their purchasing behavior, their interest. So that considered as a systematic monitoring of personal data. You put the CCTV and then you analyze, you profile the behavior of the visitors in your premises. So that also considered as a systematic monitoring. Okay, who need to appoint? Both data controllers and data processor. Okay, this is according to the new section 12A of PDPA. Okay, and what are the DPO requirements? Personal requirement. So at least I would say must have some basic knowledge of PDPA and understand the organization business operation and have some relevant IT or security system. And then the commissioner must be notified of the appointment. So some people ask me whether I'm a HR manager of my company. Can I be DPO? Okay. Or can an IT manager become a DPO? Or you can I appoint a legal advisor as a DPO? So the principle of or appointment DPO, DPO must avoid any conflict of interest of his or her current role. Okay, so if because DPO they need to observe and ensure that your data processing in your organization comply with PDPA, so that DPO must avoid any conflict of interest. Okay, so there are some roles in the organization that might slightly conflicted with the interest of DPO. I would say, for example, HR, right? Because HR is processing personal data of the staff. And you can, marketing and sales also conflicted slightly with the role of DPO. But however, organization can streamline the DPO roles if they are going to appoint HR or marketing they need to have a very strong policy governing the roles and responsibility of that role and DPO. All right. Okay, next, number three is personal data protection or privacy notice. Okay, there are a few components that build up a personal data protection notice. Number one is format. So according to PDPA, there's a compulsory of notice to be produced in Bahasa Malaysia and English. Okay, you must have both languages, and other languages are optional and welcome. So you can have any other languages, but you must have Bahasa Malaysia and English as your primary language of your notice. Okay. Number two, your notice must establish the purpose. Okay, the reason for data be and further be processed. Okay, must clearly mention it in your notice. Okay, and then you must describe what are the type of data you collected and source of collection, whether you collect an, my card number, phone number, things like that. And then what are the disclosure? You must declare who are the third parties that might receive that data in your sharing activity. Okay, and then you must also put up what are the data subjects, right? How can data subject access their information, make correction, or revert, or I mean, to cancel their consent. Those rights must be explained well in your notice. And finally, there must be a choice and option whether personal data to be collected is mandatory or optional, and how those affect each choice. Okay, because we don't want to put everything as mandatory, because some of the option and choices can be voluntary and to improve the service. Okay. Okay, let's go to governance and risk. Okay, the PDPA amendments has introduced a risk-based approach. Okay, so there are framework to govern risk-based approach. So rather than everything one size fits all, the PDPA has introduced this organization to fit their specific needs based on size, the type of data they handle, and how they plan to use it. Okay. And then number five, data protection impact assessment, DPIA, and six, data breach response plan. Okay. So let's go. What is risk-based approach? Okay. According to PDPA, a risk-based approach within DPA framework is a strategic method. I would like to highlight strategic method where data controllers and data processor tailor their data protection effort based on specific risks that activities pose to data subjects. Okay, it's no longer a one size fits all model. Okay, so organization need to assess the nature, size, scope, purposes, and context of their operation. Okay, it's a strategic method, meaning you need to put up what are the priority and the most priority and the least priority of your operation, so that you can assess the risk based on the urgency. Okay, what are the most important and the least important. Okay, this is the framework that I have designed for this risk-based approach. Number one, related to data protection by design. Okay, what is data protection by design? It's an approach that incorporates proactive technical and organizational measure. It's a proactive, it's not reactive, which are designed to implement the seven personal data protection principle into the entire life cycle of the data processing. Okay, data protection by design. Remember, I shared there is a new guideline on data protection by design. Okay, the DPO role as a strategic advisor. So DPO is no longer just a compliance officer. It's a strategy advisor. Need to have a strategic thinking in order to advise senior management and organization, your company, in related to data protection. Okay, and there is two-tier DPIA. DPIA, as I mentioned, an assessment of impact of a plan, process, operation on personal data protection. Again, this is a proactive assessment. Okay, it's not assess afterward. Okay, it's prior to your plan operation. So number four is risk assessment related to cross-border. TIA means transfer impact assessment. So the regulator has introduced TIA as a mechanism, as a method to assess and evaluate whether the legal and regulatory framework of your destination countries, let's say you want to you want to share personal data of your client to your counterpart, right? Back in Singapore. So you need to understand and evaluate whether Singapore has equivalent legal and regulatory framework. Okay. Last, number five is risk scaling. Risk scaling is related to how you scale your risk based on nature, context, size, purpose, and scope. You can have scale down and scale up depending on the risk, whether it's an upside risk or downside risk. Okay, so whoever in risk environment, they should pretty sure understand what is the upside and downside risk. Okay, so these are risk-based approach framework, and then data protection impact assessment. Okay. DPIA serve as a useful mechanism to assist organization in ascertaining the risk associated with processing operation. So there are plenty of benefits of performing DPIA, like a proactive risk migration, and then DPIA is international equivalent adequacy. Okay, many countries has introduced DPIA, and of course, it's public trust and accountability. Okay, there's a recommendation by the regulator for you upon conducting your DPIA, you may publish your DPIA DPIA report to public in order to demonstrate your transparency and your compliancy. All right. Okay. There are two-tier trigger system. When is the DPIA required? So there's a quantitative threshold. Okay, if your processing meet that quantitative threshold, yes, DPIA is required. But if not meet any quantitative threshold, the DPO must, based on their judgment, does it meet qualitative factors? If yes, DPIA is strategically required. But if no, DPIA is not required. But you may do so to have a very strong judgment on whether your processing have highly impact on personal data. Okay, it's not about the volume, but it's about the potential impact on data subjects' rights and freedom in terms of personal data. Okay, what are the quantitative threshold? So, personal data more than 20,000 data subjects is quite similar to the appointment of DPO requirement. Okay, and if your sensitive personal data that you process more than 10,000 data subject, so you need to perform DPIA. Otherwise, there is a qualitative factors. There are numbers of factors that listed by the regulator. This is a quite lengthy discussion with some examples. If you have meet any of these qualitative factor, so DPO must perform their judgment whether to proceed with the DPIA or not. All right. Okay, number five, data breach response or DBN plan. Okay, the PDPA amendments mandates the requirement to notify the commissioner. So how to notify the commissioner? When to notify the commissioner? Okay, as soon as you notice there's a potential data breach, you need to weigh whether there is significant scale. If yes, you need to notify the commissioner. If no, you need to check whether there is a significant harm. If there is no significant harm to your data subject, there's no requirement to notify to the commissioner. But yes, if yes, okay, you need to notify both commissioner and data subjects. What are the significant scale? Here it says, does it meet the significant scale criteria? If it affects more than 1,000 data subjects, so it fulfills the significant criteria. Okay. What is the significant harm? Significant harm involves sensitive personal data that creates harmful to identity of the data subject, such as identity fraud risk or anything related to financial loss, physical harm, or illegal misuse. Okay, the communication countdown. Okay, time zero. As soon as you realize you notice there is a data breach, so the clock ticks. Okay, the clock ticking now until 72 hours. So within 72 hours, you must prepare your documentation, fill up the data breach notification form, and then submit to the commissioner. If you require additional time, you must communicate with the commissioner, with a reasonable reasonable point. Okay, whether you need additional time. Okay. Um, After you notify the commissioner, if there is a significant harm impact to your data subject, you must notify the data subject. Okay, within 7 days. Okay, so the maximum completion of the whole communication with the commissioner must be completed within 30 days. Okay. Okay. Operational adherence. Okay, you must have the policy on rights of data subjects. Okay, it's an internal policy to address the request of your customer, of your staff. Okay, and you must have a policy on security, retention, and disposal, and you must have stakeholder communication efficiency plan. All right. Okay, there are plenty of rights of data subjects according to PDPA. Right of access, okay, uh, right to make correction, okay, and then to withdraw consent. There's this is very important rights that data subject has, and then right to prevent processing, okay, that cause substantial unwanted damage and is for direct marketing, okay. And there is new introduction of new data portability rights. Okay, under Section 43A, it provides the right for data subject to request to transmit their personal data directly from a data controller to another data controller. But it's very important to notice that depending on technical feasibility, okay, if there is a infrastructure ready between data controller A to data controller B in terms of interoperability format. So data controller A and data controller B must have one channel that can transfer their information in digital form. You cannot transfer in physical file from controller A to controller B. That doesn't fulfill the data portability right. So every data portability must comply with technical feasibility, whether it is in digital, XML, CSV, or any interoperability format. All right. So at the moment, this data portability right already in PDPA, but the mechanism, there's no guideline available yet, but there is a proposal from a JPDP consultation paper back in 2024. There's some proposal in that proposal paper. Okay, so in terms of policy on security, retention, and disposal, so you need to have a unified life cycle model from in terms of securing data that within your possession and data integrity and retention related to Person Data Protection Standard 2015. Okay, so when you secure it, you must ensure that whatever data within your keep must have accurate and provide clear retention period. Okay, you cannot keep inactive data for forever. Okay, you must have very specific timeline. And if you were to keep that particular information or personal data for let's say 7 years, 10 years, you must ensure that you keep at very minimum. Okay, you don't have to keep the whole data set. All right. You can eliminate throughout the period and just keep whatever very important in your to fulfill your purpose. Okay, and then finally the disposal. You must have a permanent disposal in terms of ensuring that data that's no longer required must be disposed properly and accordingly. Okay, number nine, and finally, is stakeholder communication efficiency. So you have internal stakeholders. So uh, as a DPO or anyone who responsible for personal data protection, they must communicate and advise senior management on compliance with PDPA, okay, industry standards and data security policies. And then compliance auditor, of course, you must have a good command relationship with compliance auditor to provide them with documentation of your data processing activities. And then project managers and departments. This is important because they are going to support you in the implementation of data protection impact assessment and also identifying business practice risk. And last but not least, very important, public relation and corporate communication, because they are one of your important partner in managing any data breach. Okay, so that the communication will be handled swiftly, accurately, and is well documented. And external stakeholders, number one is, of course, your data subjects, your main, I would say, your main person, data that they collect. So, to provide a response to any privacy inquiries and complaint, handling requests to access data subject rights, and also you need to be able to educate your data subject regarding their processing purposes and rights. And last but not least, external stakeholder is the Personal Data Protection Commissioner. You as a contact point, acting as primary point, as a reference, so facilitating access to document during audits and investigation, and also reporting data leak and breach incident according to established timeline. So I have listed nine components of road to compliance. So finally, what are these 90-day compliance roadmap? Okay. Within 90 days, I will propose this compliance roadmap. So within 21 days, after you identify and appoint your designated DPO, so you must register your DPO within 21 days upon the appointment via the regulator portal. Okay, within 21 days. So I will also recommend within the 30 days, you conduct data breach plan. Okay, so to develop your data breach plan, you must have a cross-functional discussion, brainstorming with your team, whether it's IT, legal, and PR, and also you must capable to executing how to define significant scale against significant harm within 72 hours. It's very important because if you don't know how to assess what is the significant scale and significant harm, especially significant harm, it will be quite difficult to establish to comply with notification within 72 days. Okay, and then also you need to conduct gap analysis, initiate a comprehensive audit on existing data inventory, and also identify all biometric data assets, because biometrics are now considered as one of sensitive personal data. Okay. Okay. After day 30 until day 90, what you need to do. Number one is to revise your personal data protection policies to ensure the terminology updated and all new requirements are updated in your policies. Number two, contract remediation. If you required to issue a revision or contract addendums with your third-party vendors to ensure the new security liabilities and DPO requirement are also in well covered in your contract. Okay. Number three is technical architecture. IT departments to assess and build technical feasibility required to meet new requirement. Okay. And within 90 days, you can actually roll out your policy, publish updated external data protection notice to data subject. Okay. Your personal data protection notice uh, shall be updated to include everything that your data subject need to know. And then you can publish it whether in your website or in any your communication platform. Okay. So, if you are executive of your organization, if you are senior management, top management, number one, to secure organizational compliance and to avoid 1 million ringgit liability risk, the following immediate action. Number one is to approve DPO appointment and budget. Okay. Depending on your context, your size, your capability, you must formally ratify the DPO candidate, and then within 20 days of the appointment, you must register to the regulator's website. And of course, you must have adequate budget to support DPO functions. You cannot live as an organization. You cannot live DPO without resources and budget. Okay. Number two is to authorize vendor contract audit. Okay. Provide the legal and procurement accessibility to review and freeze any risky vendors onboarding and mandate renegotiation of existing data protection agreements. And I would suggest that you can mandate a 72 hours drill. Okay. The IT compliance team or DPO team to run a simulated data breach notification exercise within a month. Okay, continuous compliance. To build data protection culture, I would suggest as an organization you could emphasize on people, technology, and process. Okay, people element including awareness initiatives, training programs. Okay, process element integrate data protection practices through privacy by design approach. Okay, there are plenty of practices in privacy by design that you can follow. Okay. And technology, IT department, of course, you need to continuously review on IT infrastructure and data security technology and any threat that over personal data protection. Okay, this is data protection culture. And what are the culture and catalysts? Number one, of course, DPO leadership. DPO plays the role as an agent of change. Okay, DPO must have direct access to top management in order to give significant and influential advice on data protection. Number two is stakeholder influence. Uh, Stakeholder must be influenced to provide a good decision. They must put priority whenever required related to data protection. The priority must be given. All right. And finally, as organizational priority. So data protection must be seen as a competitive advantage to increase and uphold customer trust. Okay. So this is the culture catalyst, the component that ensure that the culture that you're going to build or you already have remain sustainable and continuously comply. Okay, I guess that's a quite brief and comprehensive route to compliance. And if you have any question, maybe we have a limited time. You can just write down in the chat box, and whenever time allowed, I will address them individually. Thank you very much, and I'd like to pass over to Miss Anis.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Owa, for the insightful and informative sharing. So we do have a very little time for Q&A section before we move to our next agenda. So shall there's any questions, maybe one or two from the chat box, or maybe you guys want to unmute your chat mic. Okay, we do have one question from Laila. In practice, we use audio recordings to assist us in practice preparation of minutes. What are the best practice regarding access rights and disposal of those recordings? If regulator or auditor request them, what is the best approach and course of action?
Okay, thank you, Bisala. That's very good and practical question related to biometric. I would say audio recording is related to biometric, right? Okay. So my advice is once you have completely transcribed that audio recording, um, into written minutes. So I strongly suggest you simply dispose that recording in order to reduce your obligation from retention principle, security principle. So the best is once you have verified the minutes, all the sources related to audio shall be disposed. Okay. And the access right, I don't think it is related much in terms of whether the participant of the meeting uh, be able to request access to their recordings, because most of meetings will go through a proper channel to for verification and acknowledgement. So that's my answer to that.
Okay, moving on to our next question from Saranya. Do we need to
Attach.
attach PDPA together with appointment letter? HR definitely gather their information. And does this need stamping?
Oh, thank you. This is related to appointment letter. I believe onboarding exercise normally will accompany HR will accompany the appointment letter with PDA policies, any IT policies, many policies. So definitely yes, you shall attach them together with your appointment letter. And does this need stamping? This one I'm not quite sure because it is up to you need to check with LHDN because otherwise it's gonna be very thick documentation. But again, yes, it's recommended to attach together your PDPA policies because after all, the staff need to give consent to HR to process their person data in relation to their appointment. Okay. Okay, Anis, I think that's very two good questions. So if you ever have any further question, feel free to contact Secretariat. They will channel their question to me. All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Anis.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you, Mr. Arwa, and thank you for everyone for your question and participation. And now we about to conclude our session today. So I would like to invite our guest, Professor Dr. Muhammad Nazri Kamal, the former Personal Data Protection Commissioner, to deliver his closing remark.
Okay. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Can you hear my voice?
Yes,
Assalamualaikum
bro. Okay.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good day to our esteemed trainer, Mr. Urwah, the organizer, and all the dedicated participants joining us today. It is an absolute pleasure to share a few thoughts at the launch of this critical 1 hour training session. Looking at the framework prepared for today, the roadmap to compliance, I am incredibly heartened to see organizations taking proactive, structured steps to align themselves with the latest legal realities of the PDPA itself. As we navigate the recent wave of PDPA amendment and the new regulatory guidelines that have rolled out over 2024 and 2025, it is clear that data protection is no longer just a checkbox for the legal department. It is a core foundational pillar of modern organizational survival. We must realize that the legal landscape has fundamentally shifted. The introductions of critical new statutory obligations, such as the mandatory appointment of DPO, the strict of 72 hours mandatory data breach notification window, and the direct legal accountability now placed onto data processors under the security principle, signal that the regulator expect absolute seriousness. However, my primary message to all of you today goes beyond the legal mechanics of files, fees, and form. True compliance cannot be policed into existence. It must be lived. My ultimate aspiration and hope. Sorry, I have something wrong. My ultimate aspiration and hope for your organization is that you successfully transition from a mindset of forced compliance into a thriving data protection culture. When you activate your culture catalyst, positioning your DPO not merely as a corporate watchdog, but as an influential change agent, data protection stops being a burden. It transforms into a definitive competitive advantage that aggressively drives customer trust. I know that looking at a comprehensive compliance roadmap can sometimes feel overwhelming. Organizations often stall because they are watching for the perfect time or the perfect budget to fix everything at once. To that, I always remind organizational leaders during my time as a commissioner, you don't need to have everything perfect. A culture of accountability, transparency, and continuous improvement is the most important. Do not let the pursuit of a flawless system paralyze your progress. The regulator looks for accountability and the genuine commitment to improve continuously. Therefore, as you undergo this excellent training session today, remember my simplest rule of thumb that I always say during my speech. Start small, stay consistent, and start now. Commitment to making one process safer today. Empower your DPO to change one flow tomorrow. Stay consistent in educating your team and do not delay your statutory alignment. I want to thank to our trainer and Ishad HR Consulting for organizing this sharp, punchy, and highly necessary 1 hour deep dive. To the participants, please absorb this component, engage actively, and take lesson back to your respective department to serve as catalyst for change. Thank you very much, and I wish all of you a highly productive session. Wabillahi taufiq, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Nazri, for your valuable closing remarks and taking your time for joining us today. Once again, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Mr. Urwah for today's sharings and for all our participants for your active support for this session today. So without further ado, I would like to share this. Okay. So everyone, it's just a quick reminder. Kindly on TEE assessment, kindly complete your TEE assessment so that you guys can generate certification through NTW portal. So you guys can go to the kursus yang disertai ataupun attended courses from your NTW portal, and then go to today's courses and will appear penilaian TEE or TEE assessment, and then complete from there. And after that, you can generate your certification of attendees for within 24 hours. And then this is our little surprise for you guys who attend NTW through Irshad. So we do have exclusive offer about 10% off for all public courses valid for training calendar for 2026. So the simple thing, you have to scan this QR, and then you will have to fill up some form, and then we'll from that we will go through lah your punya eligibility to get the 10% discount. Say for these courses, we actually Mr. Uro has briefly shared about these courses. So we also available for public courses. And the next date of training is will be run on 21 to 22 October 2026. So if you guys scan the code QR just now, and then you can use the discount for these upcoming courses. So these are also the courses that are available throughout August, September, and October. So with that, we come to the end of the session for Road to Compliance PDPA amendments process. So once again, thank you for joining us. Have a great day, and we hope to see you soon in our next program. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.